The library is open.
Because reading is what? Fundamental.
Hi, I'm Blue Bailey.
And I'm Dexter DeNovo.
And welcome to the Reading is Fundamental podcast.
The show where we talk about news and entertainment law.
Why? Because we're attorneys.
And you're not. That's right, that leather daddy
And that drag queen.
are both licensed California attorneys.
It's true.
And we love to chat about the news and the goings-on in the entertainment world.
We celebrate queerness, sex positivity, and reading bitches for filth. And with that being said,
The library is open.
Officially.
So get those reading glasses on, because today we're talking about Reese Witherspoon and female-led content, Jeffrey Dahmer and the impact of the Son of Sam laws, and a court update with new copyright lawsuits for content creators. But before we get into that material, we have a little legal disclaimer for you.
the information on this podcast is for general information purposes only. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as legal advice for any individual, case, or situation. This information is not intended to create an attorney-client relationship. Sorry about it.
Stefan, aka Blue Bailey, released his own book.
That's me.
It's called Blue Movie. It's available now on unboundedition.com. Would you like to say a few words about what your book is and how you've been feeling since your book release?
Yeah, so the book is like about my life in porn, my struggles with substance abuse, and about recovery. You can get the book on the publisher's website. You could actually order it from any local bookstore. They'll order it for you. You'll get to skip out on the shipping fee.
Yes.
And it creates a need, so feel free to do that.
Support your local bookstore.
Yeah, but it was super cute. We did an opening event at Oasis here in San Francisco.
I only cried twice.
Only twice. Tears are the best lube. But it was like really heartwarming. The whole room was filled with people and it was amazing. And then we did a second event at Mr. S, and that was pretty busy. And we're actually going to be going to Palm Springs next week for Palm Springs Pride.
That's next week already?
It is, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But we're going to be doing like a little sexy book signing and meet and greet at a gear store.
Palm Springs Pride is in early November now.
It's always early November. So Palm Springs Leather Pride. Fun fact.
Oh, Leather
for
Pride
everyone.
comes before regular Pride.
Leather Pride is always the end of October around Halloween. And then
Okay.
1 week later is a regular Palm Springs Pride. You know, the one where you wound up at a sex party with Gottmik and Violet.
I was there and then they came.
And they tooted or booted your jockstrap.
They booted.
Maybe they-
I am so proud of you with this book. Honestly, I read the book and threw up a little bit, obviously. No, I'm just kidding.
Throw makes the best lube. Second to tears.
I mean, I read the book in one day, and it was a roller coaster just getting through it, because it was so much. And so many people gave you this comment and critique when we were when you did the book reading and everything. Everybody was like, "Thank you for being so open and vulnerable and raw." And I'm like, these are all words we associate.
I know. I'm always open, vulnerable, and raw. To this video.
But really, everybody was so proud. I mean, you were talking about there was a whole room full of people, and it was everybody was so excited and so proud for you. It was really a great moment to be there.
Yeah, it was super exciting. You also have some big news for us. You competed in your first drag pageant.
Yes, competed in the Little Mix Monster pageant at The Edge, where she came first runner-up.
Yes, come on, second place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, you told me to take it very seriously. So I took it very, very seriously. And I had a walk-around look before. You're you need to have a walk-around look to schmooze with the people. Make sure you say hi to all the judges. So I had the performance look, which I've been wanting to do Alexander Wang by Bon Kui Kui, a.k.a. What's her real name?
I have no idea.
Angela Johnson. And
She's the girl that says security on Mad TV.
Yes. Yes.
With the nails, right?
Yes.
Okay. Speaking of nails,
I have gloves, bitch.
if you'll notice, Dexter is always wearing gloves.
Because I
She
hate
never wears
fucking nails. I hate wearing nails.
I get my nails done more than she does.
You really do,
should-
actually.
You should look at my toenails right now. They're purple.
Ew.
Ew, no, David.
So that was my performance. Did that, had a good response, and then I pulled out a streetwear look, an elevated streetwear look for my runway look thing, and then really quickly, they tabulated it super fast, and then got down. I was like, oh my gosh, I like actually placed. And then it was just the two of us, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could actually win this. But it was okay. Got first runner up. Miss Monstrosity, we love you. You're amazing. Go follow her if you don't.
And I got to be a pageant dad. I got to help you get ready. I got to help safety pin you.
Yes.
I got to help out some of the other little monsters there. It was cute.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what have you been watching? Tell us one thing that you're watching right now.
One thing
What's
that
a
I'm watching?
must-see from you?
Dragula.
Okay. Yes.
Duh. Dragula just premiered this week. I watched it twice already.
Yeah, you watched it once before our viewing party, which I don't have any room to say because I always do that. I love watching shows like that with people.
It's so good. It's so good. I really kind of expected them for like the All-Stars to be crazier and weirder than ever. And I think they delivered like right off the bat, especially with the whole change. There's no more exterminations, and they put it at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, work, bitch.
Everyone has to participate.
Everyone has
We
to do
get
it.
a love triangle right off the bat.
Oh my god. This is like the season of like Everybody Loves Ho-So.
Yeah,
Which is
it's amazing.
insane. And it's like not even like, oh yeah, I have like, I'm, you know, kind of like her, I have a crush on her, whatever. It's like, you are my everything.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Like, I think about you all the time. And like, I can't imagine my life without you. And like, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's actually how Dexter is to me off camera. It's
Wow.
a little unsettling.
It's not
I'm happy she's able to pull it together now
Quite.
here for you.
the opposite. What did you think of it?
I loved it. I love the drama. I love the format change. I missed the exterminations.
But it's the beginning.
No, okay. I missed the executions then.
Oh, like
I
the
missed
dying.
the little stories. I wish they would have a story. But I mean, at the end of the day, the story was there, but the Boulets could have like put whoever they want in the story, and that's happening now anyways. Yeah, that's my only critique. I was surprised to see Abora go home first.
I was very
Spoiler
surprised.
alert. But I don't think that's the last we're gonna see of her. I feel
Understand.
like she's gonna have like a Morgan McMichaels moment and like come back halfway through the season or get to like replace a girl or something. I don't think she's gone for good.
Who was it the other day that was like, watch, somebody's going to show up next episode?
I was.
Was it you?
I was. I'm like, Dali's coming back.
Dolly's coming back for the third time.
We're getting Hollow Eve.
Oh my
episode
God,
two.
yes.
I have thoughts about that.
I mean, somebody else could come. I know, it's like they did it before, so it's like,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah.
Um,
Also, I'm obsessed with Eva Destruction.
Eva
Super cute. Love the hair. Love the furry butt.
yes.
Super sad that we missed her in Oakland because I would have been standing outside the bar with the boombox.
If you followed her on Instagram, you would know.
Damn, son.
But I'm also like really bad, and I'm just now catching up on season 3. So I literally
Did you not
only
watch season
learned.
3 before?
No,
Are you serious?
no. I was too busy smoking crack.
You
True
didn't?
story. Read about it in Blue Movie. No, I got through all of season 1 before. I saw most of 2, and then I started 3, and I think 3 just, I think was during cracky times. Also 3, like, Hollow Eve right off the bat was a little too intense for me, and I'm like, I'm not here for this.
Did you watch 4 then?
I watched 4 with you. We watched 4 every week, yes. Well, now I'm going back and watching 3, and I love Eva Destruction.
Wow.
Have you seen the new Dahmer show?
Yes.
Have you seen all of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is not something that somebody who like lives alone should watch.
Yeah, actually, I started watching it before Folsom. So, like, I was one of the little kids that were obsessed with serial killers. And I feel like a lot of gay boys, at least the gay boys that I know, like, grew up with an obsession for horror and serial killers. So I generally knew the story, but, like, young me didn't really, like, put some of the pieces together as well as the show did. It freaked me out a little bit. I watched episode 1 going into Folsom weekend, and I'm like, I don't need to be watching this, like, before I'm going to be having a lot of anonymous sex in strangers' houses. That kind of freaked me out.
You're like, come stay. No, just stay more. I'm just going to take a few pictures.
Oh my God.
That's all. I was going to say, didn't know that so many like gay people were into horror stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I think it's what? It has to do with like the villain, right? It's like,
Yeah,
like,
there's a
the
lot of
side.
like academic literature coming out about the connection between gays and horror, where a lot of gays connect with the final girl, kind of, because usually the final girl is outside and doesn't really follow the rules that the other people do. For the same reason, I think in a way the villain does.
Yeah. I think part of the like the love of the serial killers, I think, is probably because it's like, I mean, anytime we find these serial killers, it's like they were abused when they were younger, or it's like they were like left for dead, basically, like as children. It's like they've had a lot of trauma, and it's like, okay, like gay people get the trauma. You know what I mean? Not as much, obviously, as like somebody going through it, but it's like they understand the trauma and they like want to identify with that person.
Yeah, and I think Dahmer on top of that, so you have like this just initial kind of interest in horror from the gay community. And Dahmer is real life horror that happens within our community. And I think also like when I was like growing up as a kid, like reading things about him, yeah, I knew that he attacked gay guys, but I didn't know like to the lengths that he was cruising for guys and hunting them and picking up in bars. I didn't realize how much race played into how we got away with the crimes.
I didn't either.
And I love that the show kind of like brings that up. There's like a scene where the cop is like, you know what you're doing. Like you moved into the black neighborhood. These are the people you're targeting. And Dahmer's, at least in this story, side of the story,
called him out.
is like, no. But again, we don't know that. But the show brings, I think, that conversation to the forefront. Like I never realized how much that was an issue.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like this kind of reaction society's having to there shouldn't be shows like this. You shouldn't be dressing up as Dahmer for Halloween.
Yeah.
You can't have Dahmer numbers. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I get why the families hate it. You know what I mean? It's like, it sucks that this awful thing happened to you and your family, and then people are like turning it into a fucking like Halloween character. I get it. So I understand what they're saying, but at the same time, I shouldn't say it, but at the same time, it's just like, also, there's a market for it. Like, for some reason, we all love reading fucked up shit and watching fucked up shit and like having it all, but there's like obviously a market for it. Like, and there has been pretty much all the time. I mean, the news in and of itself is, you know, like disaster reading. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we want to know all the shit that's happening. So I think we've just kind of gotten into the time. I mean, everybody's into true crime right now. Like nobody's not into true crime. So it's like, okay, that should be allowed. But I don't know. I don't think there should be any like restrictions on it. It's like it is there. It is factful. It happened. You know what I mean? If people like whatever people take from it is their own journey.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen posts that's like, look, white people, you shouldn't be doing Jeffrey Dahmer for Halloween or drag queens. It's inappropriate to do a Jeffrey Dahmer number. And I don't necessarily agree with that. In terms of the Halloween costumes, where do you draw the line? Like, is Jack the Ripper offensive and inappropriate to like descendants of victims of Jack the Ripper? Can you dress up as generic blonde cannibal with reading problems? Like, is that
with
okay?
bad eyesight?
Yeah. I mean, where do you draw the line between like a costume that's offensive, like I don't know, like the Scream stories. Like a lot of horror is based on real life stories. So if you dress up as an iconic character, like ultimately you could arguably tie it to a real life victim somewhere.
Yeah. I think now that I think of it, it's like Halloween really is like a weird like reflection of society. It's like we see the costumes like reflect all the stuff that's happened in the last year. Like I'm thinking about like, remember when that lady was like, I'm not signing any gay certificates, and then like everybody dressed as her for fucking Halloween that year?
Yeah,
you know
and in a sense like reverses the power. It takes the power back. It like demeans the original like thing, but I don't think it like...
Honestly, it's drag now that I think about it, because it's like you're taking this, you're dragging her up, and then it's a commentary on society, right? It's a commentary of like, oh, this ridiculous lady, like, you know, is being dumb or whatever. We're gonna like dress up and act like a character. So maybe it is. It's kind of drag, I think. Yeah.
What I found interesting in the show was the fact that the father tried to publish a book.
Yes.
And the family sued for the proceeds of the book.
Yes.
And it reminded me of something that we learned about in law school called Son of Sam laws.
Yep.
Do you remember what those are?
They're basically like where a criminal cannot profit off of their crimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the case of Dahmer, I don't think that was actually what happened.
Yeah.
I think the family sued under different statutes for a number of different reasons. But I thought the concept would be kind of an interesting discussion to have. There's a lot of talk about like, should Netflix be profiting off of Dahmer's crimes? And there are specific laws that talk about it.
Yeah, so the Son of Sam laws, I mean, I think they started with the Son of Sam, that serial killer. I don't know, somewhere on the East Coast, I think. But they ended up writing a book and then doing that kind of thing.
Did a movie deal, I think.
A movie deal, that's what it was. And the way the law is written, it's kind of just like, oh, they can't profit. So it's like, well, what does profit mean? And it's like, okay, they're getting rights for this movie. They're selling their life rights for that movie, and they're getting money for it, and they're profiting off of it. And it was used every state has its own Son of Sam law, basically, where they say you can't profit off of
Your crimes.
your crimes, yeah.
Yeah, I think the law was created specifically in response to Son of Sam
Yes.
trying to sell his likeness rights for a movie, or I think for a book deal with maybe even the New York Times, I'm not sure. But New York stepped in and kind of created the law that basically says any profits that you made will be put into an escrow account and then be distributed to victims of crime. Which, is it specifically the family's victims, or is it like a fund that's generally applicable?
So I think, well, you kind of told the story like all the way at the end of the story, because it's like, in order to like get there, it's like it was challenged multiple times. Like every single one of these states, Son of Sam law has been challenged along the way.
Right. That case, I think, made it all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yes, on First Amendment grounds. So
Yes.
they're basically saying like everybody has a First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, to have the expression that they want to say, and it's a benefit for society because we like get to know actual truth of what's going on rather than like some watered down version of events. So having the freedom of speech to be able to tell your own story is basically what they were saying, and it got struck down.
Right, and it got struck down because it was too broad.
Yes.
So basically, in constitutional law, when we're talking about freedom of expression, there are different categories of speech and different levels of scrutiny. The Supreme Court determined that the original Son of Sam law and statute was content specific.
Yep.
Which means that
It's like directly talking about what the thing you're talking about is. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like we shouldn't regulate what people can talk about.
Yeah, so I mean, like a very general example of content specific law would be like a law that you can't talk about colors. Like all colors, red, blue, or yellow,
Yeah.
are off the table, and that is content specific versus
Yeah.
something that's not content specific, which would be, give us an example of something that's not content
Wow,
specific.
way to put me on the spot. Saying that you can't play music on Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Okay, that's not content specific, it's more time specific. So when things are content specific, there's a higher level of scrutiny. And when it comes to the First Amendment, that means the law needs to be narrowly tailored to give the desired effect, which needs to be like a betterment of society
Yeah.
or something like that.
It can't just be like anything. It has to be like very tailored to like limit what we want only.
Right, and the rationale behind that is when it's not narrowly tailored, you're grabbing more free speech than you're intending to. So in this case, the statute targeted kind of any works of media that profited from the crimes, whether or not like the crimes were just briefly mentioned or if they were the whole idea of the work.
Yeah.
So it wasn't narrowly tailored to just target that speech. It got a whole lot of other speech with it, and that's why it was initially struck down.
Did it say specifically the media? Or like you can't profit using media? Because like my initial thought of it was like maybe this statute was written and it was like, oh, you can't like rob a bank and keep the money. You know what I mean? Like you can't profit off of it. Or like maybe you like laundered money and you can't keep the money. You know what I mean?
So I think that comes into play a little bit later, but I think the original Son of Sam statutes were specifically in regard to media. You couldn't sell book rights to it and profit from the crime. You couldn't sell movie rights to it. You couldn't like create art in your cell and start selling that.
Yeah.
Which actually, the art in the cell would be kind of a good.
If it was about your crime.
If it was about your crime, But I mean, in theory, could you say that the value of the art is there because of the crime?
Because of the notoriety. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that's a great example, the gray area.
That's a stretch for me.
Yeah, but I think that's what the
Yeah.
Supreme Court is saying, that like,
Yeah.
hey, profiting from the crimes is too broad.
Yeah.
So it was struck down. But a lot of the states then came and retailored and reworked their Son of Sam statutes, and some have made it through constitutional scrutiny, and some haven't.
So like I think there was a second one that got challenged somewhere in the 90s about the same kind of things, like somebody murdered, they like wanted a film made after them, but instead of going to the U.S. Supreme Court, it went to the California Supreme Court. And if you remember, with the whole federalism thing, California Supreme Court can answer federal law questions. Like, it can interpret federal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I missed a lot of law school classes. I must have
No,
missed
it's
this
like
one.
they can determine whether their own state statute is an infringement of U.S. federal law.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they were interpreting based on the First Amendment as well, and like struck it down. But like you said, they retailored them. I think what New York ended up was something like if the person gets more than $10,000, then they notify the victims, right, or something like that.
Right. Yes, I do remember that. So yeah, if the deal passes $10,000, they notify the victims, the families, and the victims can then sue for the profits. I'm wondering somehow, somewhere in that statute, if like the victims have to sue, that's kind of an economic barrier right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like, what if the victims don't have money? Is there money set aside? How does that work?
It probably will be like the attorneys that they hire will do it in a contingency. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So it's like a contingent on us winning. We will take 10% of whatever your winnings are.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? The thing I thought was like, wait, what? When I read it was the fact that it was like not just the criminal. It was like anybody in their circle. It's like
Right, it
their
could
family
be-
or friends or whatever.
Yeah, immediate family members, like people that they're living with in
Yeah.
prison. It could be neighbors wanting to profit off of it.
I didn't like that at all. I was like, that's like, you know what I mean? It's like they didn't do anything. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this criminal did it, but it's like, here's my life living with a serial killer. Or
Yeah.
like whatever. Like, my husband ended up being like a murderer.
So
Like,
that brings us back to Jeffrey Dahmer's dad.
yeah.
And a lot of people are saying that, like, even when the book came out, that was exploitative, and he was trying to make money off of the crimes. They're saying that now
Yeah.
about Netflix, and Netflix is kind of doesn't have that tangential like connection to it.
Yeah.
They weren't Dahmer's roommates. They weren't related. They're a completely separate entity.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, because, you know, there's the Dahmer series, and then there's the, like, the tapes one. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That's also Netflix.
Yes, but they, like, actually interview people for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if, like, they have to do it for free or something.
I don't know.
Right?
That's
Because
a good
it's like, if it's
question.
like their brothers or whatever, it's like, okay.
Yeah, no,
Maybe
that's-
they get less than $10,000.
Maybe.
Here's your $9,999 check.
So I think that ultimately there's a big question mark around whether Son of Sam laws are constitutional. As we mentioned earlier, in Dahmer, it wasn't the Son of Sam law that got the profits taken away from Dahmer's dad's book.
Yep.
It was civil lawsuits. And we were reading that lawsuits under RICO, like racketeering lawsuits, could be used to kind of take money that's related to a crime in a way that doesn't kind of impinge on the First Amendment rights.
Interesting. But it has to be like a racketeering crime.
Yeah, so the
Bitch, I don't even know what racketeering is.
the case, I don't 100% know either. And I'm from Las Vegas, I should know. But it was like a mob boss who wrote a book about his life in the mafia. I think it may have even been the book that like got turned into Goodfellas. But they were able to use, instead of Son of Sam laws that have that First Amendment question to it, they were able to use RICO statutes to kind of take the money back.
Yeah. Interesting. I would say, for me, they're unconstitutional. I feel like it's kind of like the same thing we were talking about earlier with the Halloween costumes. It's like, it's self-expression. You know what I mean? Like, just because this person has been incarcerated doesn't mean they have any less right to self-expression and freedom of speech. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe, like, I guess what rights do you get taken away when you're incarcerated? But, like, you know what I mean? And it's a story to tell. I'm interested. I think so many people would be interested to read, like, here's my fucked up mind, you know? The tale of Jeffrey Dahmer. I would.
I would want to read it, yeah. I don't know. Do you think that there should be just maybe like a trauma tax on all kind of stuff like this, where Netflix makes it like automatic 10% goes to the victims if they're still
Ooh,
alive?
that's a unique way to deal with this, I feel like.
Yeah, so that way the content's still being made, and it's not necessarily a tax up front that like prevents the content from being made. It won't chill free speech, but like once profits start coming in, like 10% of that goes to families or
Yeah.
to a nonprofit or something like that.
I think it should be like 50% if I'm
50%?
honest. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you did really bad. Like it's like not even 10%, it's like you did real bad.
It depends how many people you killed.
Only 50% gets distributed between
50
all the
people,
It's like
50%.
wills and trusts. It's like 1/3 gets here. Like
Oh my god, you're so stupid.
you're dumb.
You're getting canceled.
Anyway.
Anyways, let's take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about girl power.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reading is fundamental. Reading.
Do I still look beautiful? Anyways,
Back to
let's talk about girl power.
Okay, so I found this article in the Hollywood Reporter about Reese Witherspoon and her production company. Did you even know that she had a production company?
I did.
I did not. I was like, okay, work, bitch.
Do you know how it started?
No.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with the morning show.
Yes.
Which is, what is it?
It's on Apple Plus.
Happy
it's
Sunshine?
really good.
Hello Sunshine?
Hello Sunshine.
Hello Sunshine produces it. It's Reese Witherspoon's company. She basically started this production company because she was tired of seeing roles centered around men. And she wanted to create a production company that would produce content that centered women and voices and stories kind of told and expressed through that perspective. So she created this. We have great shows like The Morning Show.
Love The Morning
I think
Show.
what is it, like Little Big Lies or something
Little
like
Big
that?
Lies with Nicole Kidman, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they said Making the Cut. Did they say Making the Cut was on there?
I have no idea.
If Making the Cut is on there too, they've got me. That show is amazing. It's like, I've told you, it's like they win and then the next day it's available to buy.
Oh, I did
Like
not know that.
on Amazon.
That's
it's
great.
phenomenal.
That's the one where what's his name got a meltdown? The shoe guy, Jeremy Scott.
Jeremy Scott, he had a meltdown. Like, we're on season 3 now, bitch. He had a meltdown. I have to say, this is like, they're like the best designers in the world. Like, they are looking for the next global fashion brand. And it's different because it's like, they're very much half fashion, half business. You know what I mean? Like, they think about the business all the time. What's going to sell? How's it going to sell? What are we going to market as? Like, so the grand prize is $1 million.
That's pretty good.
You become a millionaire if you win the show. And then every single time, if someone wins, the next day, the look is available to buy on Amazon.
So Reese Witherspoon is selling. I'm kind of disappointed.
No,
'Cause
she
I was
already
like,
sold.
It's already sold. But all right, because I was so happy that like. So I mean,
So-
is the mission still there? Are they still going to produce that content?
This is what I was like, we should talk about this, because I don't feel like a lot of people know like what that means when a company is bought or acquired or merged, like we talked about it a little bit before. But in this case, there is a larger company that is acquiring other companies.
Okay.
It's called Candle Media, and it's literally a venture-backed company that is meant to spend a lot of money to make a lot of money. So, like, that's a lot of words. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean when I say a venture-backed company?
I don't.
So, venture capitalism is a whole bunch of rich people put all their money into these venture funds, right? And then it's these people's jobs to find businesses or stocks or whatever,
Or Jeffrey Dahmer shows.
Jeffrey Dahmer shows, to make more money,
Okay.
right? So it's like this venture, they like, I mean, they have millions of dollars, billions of dollars, you know what I mean, to spend. So they'll be like, okay, we'll invest $20 million in your company to get started, and we're going to get 20% of it or whatever.
Okay.
Or sometimes they'll be like, we want a seat on your board of directors, or we want controlling whatever of it, or we want this many shares of the company. So they like
But
go.
like controlling shares, like if they're buying the company, they
There's different types of shares, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like they can have controlling shares, or they can have a seat, which is like includes shares or whatever. Yeah. So they go and like invest in these companies to buy things. So a venture firm has gone to Capital Media or Candle Media, and they were like, "Here's $4 billion, like $4 billion," and that whole company is basically doing the same thing. It's like finding new innovative ways in the new market to find, or they're trying to find companies that are emerging in the market.
So do they buy the company and then step in and like have all their changes, or do they feel like if the company is like already doing well, they're just going to give money for it to keep on doing well? I guess what I'm worried about in this situation is like Reese had a great company with a great mission.
Yep.
It's sold.
Yep.
Like, does this new owner have to like put women first and send her women's stories? Yes. Like, what's going on there?
Yeah. So it depends on how the like contract is written between them. Sometimes it's like, oh, your company is doing real shitty. Like, we're gonna come in and we're gonna fix this, and you need to do all of our policies and like all of our procedures or whatever. And sometimes it's like, you guys are doing great. We're just like throwing money at you, basically. So it depends. But it sounds like they just acquired it, but Reese and company are still running it completely. You know what I mean?
So Reese isn't the owner, but Reese is still like the creative vision.
Yes.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like reading that she like they were having like the production company's doing so well that they're having trouble like getting women directors and women talent because all the women like in the industry are already booked.
That was like, wow, what a good problem to have.
Yeah. But also like highlights the need that like there needs to be more access.
Yeah. I guess the thing that was like super interesting that I read is that this Candle Media company is out there buying other companies that they see is like the future of entertainment.
Okay.
So like they're buying this one, which is like women owned, women empowered, leading female stories, like all that kind of stuff. And then they bought like another, I forget what it is, but it's some kids show that started on YouTube, and they're turned into a whole brand. Like now it's a TV show, and like now it's like merchandising or whatever. So,
I love and I hate this at the same time.
Yeah.
Because like I'm like, all right, yeah, like give these companies a lot of money to do like what they do well, but at the same time I'm like, what would happen if like a venture company like bought Drag Race?
Yeah.
How would Drag Race look when someone that's probably not queer,
Yeah.
someone that may not be a woman in the Reese Witherspoon case is ultimately making the decisions of what gets shown and what doesn't?
I mean, that's kind of how we did kind of end up that way with Drag Race because
VH1, yeah.
Ultimately, we're answering to Viacom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like we sold it to VH1. VH1 is obviously going to be like, we need this, this, and this, and this. You need to make sure you're doing this, and blah blah blah. And that's just VH1, and they're a subsidiary under Viacom, and Viacom's like, we want all these things. You know what I mean? So it could be bad, it could be good. It sounds like they are still in full control. Like nothing has really changed in what it is. But they're acquiring all these new companies, and they're like trying to mix they're trying to do what the Making the Cut show is, and like mix media and consumerism together. So they bought a whole like home goods store.
Okay.
And they like made a show about this home goods store. So it's like they're trying to like really push this new idea of like media and consumerism together.
So you could just kind of like combining the merchandising with the content, like all at once. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that. I love good merch.
It's interesting to see how like the world is changing to like be this way. You know what I mean? And how like the prevalence of streaming now is like the thing. It's like we're no longer remembering anything else. We are looking at the data, and the data says that people are into streaming, that people are into rom-coms and blah, blah, blah. She's like, we had everything before that had just been anecdotal evidence, like, oh, blah, 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 nobody was like...
Yes, I love that, yeah.
And she's like, we have data. And I was like, you better work, bitch. Like, you're over here with your, like, scale, like, graphs and, like, pie charts and shit saying, like, here's the data, we need more rom-coms.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, there was the quote that was like, oh no, like, we've already did our one women-led movie of the year.
Yeah.
And we can't release more because it probably won't perform overseas, or
Yeah.
it may not perform well for this audience.
We don't know.
And
Yeah.
Reese said that came from like
A
another
woman. Yeah.
in the
Like the
industry.
executive was the woman who said that.
But yeah, now Reese is like saying, no, actually, like streaming has created all these little niche markets and niche demographics that will
Yep.
watch the show. And that's amazing.
Yeah. I was so like, I was very like impressed with her after that.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was like such a business mogul.
Oh yeah, I love that about her.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that was like $900 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a shit ton of money for a production company, I think. Like, I don't know how much production companies normally go for, but like...
I mean, she's got like at least three huge
really good shows
going on right
Yeah.
now, in addition to all the other projects that they're working on.
I don't even like dramas, and I love The Morning Show.
Morning show was great.
It was so good. Very well done.
I think that's really exciting, but I definitely want to talk about these like copyright lawsuits that you brought up. So let's take a break and we'll get to that.
Reading is fundamental. Reading.
All right, so we're back. There's always something going on in the world of copyright.
The way the media is changing has changed like the types of lawsuits that we're bringing into the courts.
Give me an example.
So
What are you talking about?
I think you probably heard about the tattoo artists, and they like they made a tattoo on somebody. That person ended up in a video game, and there was like a reproduction of that tattoo on the video game.
So that's right. So the tattoo artist sued the video game company for copyright infringement because it was a sports game,
Yes.
and the athlete in real life had a tattoo
Yes.
that was replicated, copied
Yes.
for the video game, and I'm assuming that case got thrown out of court.
No, they ended up winning.
Oh.
Yeah.
On what grounds?
Yeah, they won their case, but the court didn't award them very many damages. It was only about like $3,000 in damages. So I feel like this is the court's way of saying like, okay, technically you have a copyright and you have a claim and you won, but it's like your damages aren't that bad.
Okay. So they basically, like, this person didn't get, like, so much money because, yes, the copyright happened. The court's willing to acknowledge that it happened and to award a couple $1,000s, but they basically are saying that people aren't playing this video game as a substitute to see your tattoo. They're not.
No.
You're not bringing the crowds in for this.
No. I mean, this is interesting because it's like, I'm sure they made a fair use defense about it or whatever. And it's like one of the fair use factors is talking about like taking away from the market of whatever copyrighted work it is. So it's like, oh, if you like made a painting and somebody replicated the painting, then that one painting, you know what I mean, is valued less because it's like there's only one of them now. But it's like with the tattoo, it's like, okay, what are you going to do with this tattoo though? Like,
Yeah.
where
So
are we putting it?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like, basic copyright question. I have the tattoo of the X-Men logo.
Yeah.
Does that mean just me existing here with a tattoo, Marvel can take me? I know Marvel can take me to. Anyone can take anyone to court.
Anybody can take anybody to
for
court.
any reason. But would Marvel have a case to sue me for copyright infringement for not getting permission of tattooing the X-Men logo?
I would say they have a claim. I think so. I think
Okay.
they can like bring that to court and see like what they mean. I don't think that they would ever do that because it's like
Because I'm not important enough.
basically I don't think they would ever do that just because it's like things like that are obviously I'm a fan of this and I'm not trying to replicate or I'm not trying to replace, you know, anything that they have.
Right, and I agree with that. I would also think that like me just having a tattoo isn't bringing in. It's not commercial. It's not bringing in income.
Yeah.
There's no element. I'm gonna add another layer to that. So I'm on set shooting a porn where my tattoo is featured, very similar to the
video
tattoo
game.
in the video game. It's not a copy of the tattoo, but it is a copy of the artwork that's unauthorized. What are your thoughts on that? Would that be an infringement? Would they be more likely to win because it's for a commercial purpose?
Interesting. Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't think so. What do you think?
I don't think that I think if there was a copyright claim, it would again be nominal. Where it's like, all right, we're gonna acknowledge that yes, they're like the image on your arm being copied onto photos and onto the video
Yeah.
is by letter of the law copyright. We're going to give you some money for it. I think, and I know we're not talking about trademark, I think the trademark issue, the fact that you could sue for dilution or
Yeah.
harm to reputation, I think it's arguable. I mean, we're all sex positive here. Like, we don't feel that being an adult entertainment would
Yeah.
harm anyone's reputation. But a company like Marvel could think that their brand would be tarnished showing up in adult entertainment.
I would think that your best defense is just saying, like, I obviously am not here to represent this brand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're not holding you out as a brand representative. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I think that alone is like a good defense
Okay.
against it. But it is interesting to see, like, where's the line between depicting the real world and just like a literal copying, you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty well known. It's like if you're a documentary filmmaker and you're out there and you're filming and you see a KFC and it happens to be in your shot, it's like, okay, like, you're telling the story as it is real life and that just happens to be in real life. But it's like, if it's a fictional world, like Gotham isn't going to have KFC, you know what I mean? Unless
Right.
they pay for it. Like,
Yeah, so I think like when you're dealing with things like that, if like the camera's moving and you go by something real quick, that's likely not going to arise to infringement. However, though, like if you're interviewing someone
Yep.
and the KFC logo's there or an art is right behind you and the camera's focusing
An
on
art.
an art, but like it's clearly in the shot and
Yeah.
staying there, that's a different issue, and that is something that you'll most likely have a claim, which. Kind of going back to the tattoo thing, like the only other tattoo case that I remember is Mike Tyson.
That's
And I
right.
feel like there were a lot of issues promoting Mike Tyson in the movie The Hangover, where the tattoo was featured. I think the artist
Yes.
sued for copyright because his face tattoo, its front and center, was on the posters. It was on advertising, and I think they actually had to pull and redo the posters for that.
So it was Mike Tyson's tattoo artist that sued, but it was because it was on a different person. Like, the guy got drunk in Thailand or something and then got a face tattoo that looked like Mike Tyson's.
Right. So the tattoo artist sued for injunction to actually stop the movie from being released, which is a pretty big deal.
That's a huge
which
deal.
this other case that we're talking about in relation to video games came out years after. If it came out years before, like the Mike Tyson issue may have been like
Yeah.
settled differently. But yeah, I think a lot of the issue was around the unauthorized use of the tattoo because it was put on another person. Mike
Which is
Tyson.
a copying, I feel like. That's very much a copying.
It is copying.
Yeah.
Like Mike Tyson, and specifically in the arrangement when he got that tattoo, it was in the contract that the tattoo artist owned that work. So putting the tattoo on another person wasn't an unauthorized copy and an infringement of copyright. Now, if you're shooting Mike Tyson for
Yeah.
like the poster, does the poster with the tattoo?
I
like,
think that's... I don't think you have... I don't know on what legal grounds you would rely on, but it's like you can't help the medium that you put it on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like...
But I mean, do you think does this video game open up the door for someone to control, like the artist to control Mike Tyson's public appearances
Maybe.
because they own the copyright on the face?
I could see that. Like, using this as precedent to be like, hey, they won this little claim because it ended up on that thing. Here's my movie poster.
Exactly.
I could see that. I could see that.
Bringing this back into our favorite subject to talk about, Drag Race. What happens when like you need the copyright to be able to identify? And I'm thinking specifically of Monet Exchange doing Mike Tyson
Doing Mike Tyson.
with the tattoo on the face.
That's really good. Because it's like you need the tattoo in order to like identify her as Mike Tyson.
Right.
Do you need the tattoo?
I think nowadays you do. I don't think it needs to be the exact tattoo.
Like, could you evoke him without the tattoo?
I think you could evoke it doing something different, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Monet didn't do,
Exactly.
may not have done, but for argument's sake, say Monet does do.
Yeah.
Is that actionable?
I think it could be.
Yeah.
right?
I think it's a
Did
good
I
question.
say no? I think it could be.
So I think like when you're
It's a good question.
when you're looking for clearance for things when you're producing content, or like it seems tattoos are now something that
That you
are
have to start
copyrighted
looking
works
for.
of art. Yeah, that maybe when you're shooting something, you change the angles where you're not featuring that tattoo, or maybe you put some foundation and cover it up a little bit.
Or tell Monet to do something different.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think
good
I
question.
love that character though. It was great.
She did really well. I think we're talking about the real world scenario. It's like we read these cases that were like two kind of similar facts. It was like, okay, there's a photographer and they both took a photo of like a street, an art of like a mural like on the side of a wall, and it was like the difference between the two cases was that like one of them took it from a little bit further away to show the street and the street lights and lamps or whatever, and the other one took it just like right in front of it.
Yeah, where it was literally just a substitute for the original.
Yeah.
So I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about copying another artist's work in a way that's transformative. Like the tattoo in the movie, the tattoo in the game, the tattoo as a Snatch Game character. But it's not just about visual works, it's about written works. Did you hear about the Bridgerton thing?
The
on
Bridgerton,
TikTok?
unauthorized Bridgerton musical, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, it started out on TikTok, it sounds like, and they were like, I don't know, kind of doing the characters on TikTok, but then they made a whole musical out of it, right?
Yeah, so they were basically creating Bridgerton fan fiction as a musical, but it wasn't just like a written story. It was like acted, performed with songs on TikTok.
Yeah.
And initially, Netflix loved it. They promoted it, they supported it, until these actors like took it off social media and actually started performing it live and charging an admission price, which is when
Yeah.
Netflix stepped in and was like, no ma'am.
Yeah, I think I agreed with the Netflix people when they were saying like it was kind of fan fiction and then it turned into like stealing. You know what
See,
I mean?
I don't agree with that.
Because it's like they could have had the Bridgerton people could have had their own opportunity to make a Bridgerton musical, and they're getting that taken away from them by these people.
Okay, well, what about all the times that we go out to the like parody shows? What about porn parodies?
I mean, you just said it right there. It's parody, right?
Yeah, but I mean the same thing, like parody musical, like could you not say that the Bridgerton musical was a parody and the fact that it's a musical is the parody
I
of the
think it's
dramatic
so
show?
funny that they said it was like obviously unscripted,
Scripted.
like or
Yeah.
unauthorized. Unauthorized. Like they literally said it in the title, which is super smart, right? It's like you're gonna say right off the bat it's unauthorized, but like I don't know the facts of like how the Bridgerton case, like how alike it was, but it sounds like it was pretty like this character is the exact same, and they talked about how they used dialogue from the actual show in the musical. You know what I mean? So it's
And
like
you don't think that's transformative? Because we go to shows in San Francisco all the time that's like Golden Girls live, Sex and the City live, Buffy live. I actually just went and saw Scream, which was basically done.
SQREAM.
Yeah, it was basically a queer interpretation of the movie Scream that was done like Moulin Rouge, but all the songs were 90s songs.
Yeah.
So you had direct lines from the movie. All the characters had fun names, but they basically acted out Scream with musical songs that like express the emotions of the scenes. To me, it's the same thing. Where do you draw the line?
I think the one thing I just latched onto was you said the characters had different names.
Okay.
So that's alone, like, obviously this is not that one. You know what I mean? And I think that when they have different characters, it is a different character.
Okay.
Like, it's,
That's fair.
to me, it's like the difference between Scream and Scary Movie. It's like, bitch, his name is Doofus. Like, you know what I mean? And it's obviously like they took the dumb guy and made him like real dumb.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? In the Scary Movie. So it's like, it's a different character. Doofus is different than, I don't know the guy's name. Arnett.
Dewey.
Dewey.
Deputy
Doofus is different than Dewey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're both hot in their own ways.
They are.
So, this is just like random off the top of my head. Especially in horror movies, you see a lot of homage and nods to other films.
Yeah.
Where does it cross the line between an homage and copyright infringement? I mean, You could say the same thing. Like in horror movies, it's an homage. When it's pop music, everyone's always saying, "Oh, Gaga copied Madonna."
Yeah.
It's never seen as like a tribute or like
Yeah.
inspired by. So, where is that line crossed in terms of copyright?
I think it's all fact dependent. Like, I think it depends on how much you took and like blah, blah, blah. Because that just made me think of like, bitch, reading is fundamental. It's like on Drag Race, they go, you know, in the tradition of Paris is Burning, it's like they're literally saying, we're getting it from Paris is Burning.
Right. And as we have said many times, it's not enough to be like, hey, this is our site where we're taking it from.
Yeah.
That makes it okay. Infringement's infringement.
Yeah.
And if you say where it's coming from, you're just acknowledging it's an infringement.
This particular thing.
Yes.
So I think if it's de minimis, again, like if it's small, it's probably, you know, whatever.
Okay. So if it's like a throwaway like line
Yeah.
or just like something small, but if you're like shot for shot,
Yeah.
doing a scene, that's
And
a
it's
big
like,
difference.
where is it in the middle? It's like, it kind of depends on.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like the Bridgerton musical was like copy. Or at least pretty much on, or closer to this side than it is to be de minimis.
Yeah. I mean,
I want to know if the character names were the same, if they were actually the same character, if it was like a Dewey Doofus situation.
yeah, I would want to know what the like content of the story is, because I feel like when we have these like kind of queer interpretations and queer parodies, it's that queer framing of the story that puts it into parody status, which is protected against copyright infringement.
Yeah.
And apparently these straight people were fucking up their Bridgerton musical and didn't have enough faggots doing it that they got sued.
I never saw it. We'll have to know.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to watch
I'm not
it.
gonna watch it. I don't want to watch
We're both
regular
like, I don't want to
Bridgerton.
watch it either.
I definitely want to get into this video that you've been telling me about that we need to watch, but first let's take a break.
Reading is fundamental. Reading.
I like deep, but I like
All right, what's this video we're watching?
Oh my god. Okay, so we have stupid news, just kind of funny things that we like to share with each other.
Stupid news, stupid videos.
I listened to this program, this old person's program, because of course I'm like 85
What
years
are they,
old
like
inside.
30?
It's called Wait, Don't Tell Me. And it's a radio show that they turn into a podcast, and they have all ridiculous news and they make fun of it. I got this from there, so I'm going to show you the video.
Okay.
So we just removed a few contacts. Look down,
A few contacts?
Mm-hmm.
and you can see. Can you lift it up a little bit? There's a
Oh, I hate when that happens.
contact. Look down somewhere. We just removed 2.5 contacts. You can see this piece coming out. There's more.
Ah!
This is more for the record. I don't know. There's actually more. There's a whole waddle there.
I believe it.
This person has like 10 contacts that got like stuck up in their eye, and this doctor's like, and they're green and they're gross.
You want to know, is
I
23.
have to count them. I think I've already counted more than 10 or
How did
12.
this person?
Come on.
No, I'm serious.
She didn't even know.
I can't believe you.
She didn't even know.
That's bullshit. I don't believe it. This is staged.
You have to feel it.
Just removed
Yeah,
a few
this is
contacts.
bullshit.
Look down,
No, I don't. How is this news?
and you can see. Can you lift it up a little bit?
It's dumb news.
There's a third contact.
This is
You can look down
gross.
somewhere. We just removed.
How dare you? I thought you would love that.
I do love it. It's gross.
So, on the news, they were like, this doctor pulled out 23 contacts from this woman.
Do you wear contacts? I wear
Yes,
contacts.
yes.
I'm like blind as a bat.
This is why I thought you would like this, because it's like we both wear contacts and we struggle with the contact
Have you ever
thing.
had that happen?
Yes. I mean, and then you freak out for a little bit,
You freak out because you lose
and
it.
you're like, oh my god.
But there's like, you feel it.
It's in the back of your eye, yeah.
It's constantly there. There's no way.
And it's like kind of scratchy, kind of like pressurey
yeah.
feeling.
And then you're like, get out, get out.
And you like freak out because it's
This
not
person
falling down.
has 23
23
stuck up in
She's
there.
like, what? I didn't know.
It's like, you know when you're dealing cards, like the doctor was like,
Pulling them out one after another.
fucking gross.
I don't know how she did it. I also wanted to comment about the fact that she showed up to this eye doctor wearing false eyelashes, poorly placed.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, that's what that green goo was?
that's what the thing is on top.
Oh,
You
okay.
see, this is like, you can see the false eyelash right there.
That's disgusting.
And then she's wearing these false eyelashes, which are poorly placed, and all this gunky mascara at the bottom. So it's like, you know, she's really not paying attention to like what's going on in the ocular place.
Did I ever tell you the time when I first got contacts?
Is this in the book?
This actually, like, this is referenced in the book. I grew up wearing glasses from like 3rd grade and like thick Harry Potter glasses. And I finally decided to get contacts when I was like 18 or 19 because I was tired of being blind during sex and having to like have glasses off and on. That was also a time where I was doing a lot of drugs and staying up for days. So I tried doing contacts. I was up for days and I went to like, I was finally crashing. Maybe I wasn't crashing, but I was like figuring out like, it was hard to get them in and out of my eye. And I was like looking in the mirror, just like going like this, like to my eye, trying to find the contact, probably for about 20 minutes until I realized there was no contact in my eye. And I literally was just like incessant. It was gross. My eye was so beet red.
Like,
it was so sad. We don't have to live like that anymore.
Is that all that was said?
No, now I'm here with you. Watching these. So, like,
I thought you would love this.
I do love this. Well, that's enough of entertainment news. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at BlueBaileySF.
At Dexter DeNovo.
And on YouTube at the Reading is Fundamental podcast channel.
You can find this YouTube video here on YouTube and as an audio episode on iTunes, Spotify, and all your other platforms.
Make sure to like and subscribe so we can get some sponsors.
And leave some notes in the comments. What do you like to see? What do you want to hear about? Let us know.
Yeah, give me compliments.
Wow.
And always remember to read your damn contract because reading is what?
Fundamental to understanding the terms, conditions, expectations, and obligations of your entertainment contracts.
Until next time.
The library is open.
Because reading is what? Fundamental.
We need a what?
You're rude.
Ah!
I should have left the camera rolling to get you snorting like a pig.
It's a good little piggy toes.
I'm always good. You want my little piggy toes? Yeah?
You're
Yeah?
gonna suck on my little piggy
My
toes?
little-
I'm not. Don't.
But they're
No,
purple.
gross.
Lick them.
No.
Come on, people pay good money for that. Hey,
A little
leave my
callous.
fucking alone.